The flight attendant's smile never wavered. That was the worst part. Not the words. Not the hand gesture toward economy. Not even the way her eyes had skipped over Simone Cartwright like she was air. It was the smile. Practiced. Professional. Empty. Ma'am, I think there's been a mistake with your boarding pass. Simone stood in the first-class aisle, carry-on in hand. Seat 2A printed clearly on the pass she'd just scanned. Behind her, other passengers shuffled, impatient. The cabin smelled like leather and expensive cologne. She did not raise her voice. Did not sigh. Just held up the pass. No mistake. The flight attendant, Bryn, according to her name tag, tilted her head. Sympathetic now, as if Simone were confused and needed gentle correction. I understand, but this is a premium cabin. Your ticket is for seat 2A. Sometimes the app glitches. Let me just. Bryn reached for the pass. Simone pulled it back. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just out of reach. My seat is 2A. A pause. Long enough for the man behind Simone, 60-ish, khakis, annoyed, to clear his throat. Bryn's smile tightened. I'm going to need you to step aside so I can verify this with the gate agent. You can verify it here. Scan it again. Ma'am, Miss Cartwright. Another beat. Bryn's jaw flexed. Then she turned to her colleague, another flight attendant, younger, nervous, and murmured something Simone couldn't hear. The younger woman disappeared toward the cockpit. Simone stood still, heavier than rage. This was not her first time. Would not be her last. But today was different. Today, they'd picked the wrong flight. 8 hours earlier, Simone had left her Tribeca penthouse at 4 a.m. No assistant. No driver. Just her, a coffee from the corner bodega she'd been going to for 15 years, and a Blacktown car she'd booked herself. FIPO was scheduled for Friday. 3 days away. The biggest moment of her professional life, and she was spending it in Sacramento reviewing an acquisition nobody knew about yet. Not the board. Not her executive team. Just her and the regional director who'd flagged irregularities in their West Coast operations, cost overruns, staff complaints, maintenance delays that kept planes grounded longer than they should be. Simone had built Skybridge Airlines from nothing. 12 years ago, she'd been a consultant at McKinsey, advising legacy carriers on operational efficiency while watching them ignore every recommendation. She'd seen the gaps, the underserved routes, the cities abandoned by major airlines that left entire communities stranded. So she'd started her own. Small at first. Regional routes. Competitive pricing. A focus on customer experience that the big carriers had long since abandoned in favor of nickel-and-diming passengers for baggage and seat selection. It worked. Skybridge grew. More routes. Better planes. Partnerships with international carriers. And now, 12 years later, she was taking it public. Valuation, $3.2 billion. Her stake, 68%. The IPO would make her one of the wealthiest Black women in America. But first, she had to fix Sacramento. She'd booked the flight under her own name. Simone Cartwright. No title. No fanfare. She flew her own airline often. Always had. It was the only way to see what was really happening. Gate agents who didn't know they were being watched. Flight crews operating without executive scrutiny. Most of the time, things ran smoothly. Today was not most of the time. Security had been normal. TSA pre-check, quick scan, no delays. She'd waited at the gate like everyone else, scrolling through financial reports on her tablet, double-checking projections. Boarding started on time. Group 1, first class, and elite status. Simone had walked down the jetway, pass ready, mind already on the meetings waiting in Sacramento. She'd stepped onto the plane, and Bryn had stopped her. Now, standing in the aisle while passengers piled up behind her, Simone watched the younger flight attendant return. She whispered something to Bryn. Both glanced at Simone. Bryn's expression shifted. Not quite alarm, but something close. Miss Cartwright. Her voice had changed. Smaller now. I apologize for the confusion. If you'd like to take your seat. What did she tell you? Simone asked quietly. I'm sorry. Your colleague. What did she say? Bryn's smile flickered. Just that your boarding pass is valid. Again, I apologize. You didn't think it was valid 30 seconds ago. The man behind Simone sighed audibly. Can we please move this along? Simone didn't turn. Kept her eyes on Bryn. You assumed, Simone said, that I couldn't afford this seat. I never said, you didn't have to. Bryn's face flushed. Ma'am, I was doing my job. Sometimes people board the wrong cabin by mistake. Do you stop everyone? Or just the ones who look like me? Silence. The kind that pressed against eardrums. Bryn opened her mouth, closed it. The younger attendant looked at the floor, and then a voice came from the cockpit doorway. Is there a problem? Captain Rodriguez, 50-something, salt and pepper hair, 25 years with Skybridge. He looked at Bryn, then at Simone. His eyes widened, just slightly. Simone met his gaze, said nothing. Rodriguez stepped fully into the cabin. Miss Cartwright. His tone was careful, respectful. We're honored to have you aboard. Bryn went pale. The man behind Simone muttered, Who? Rodriguez turned to him, then to the rest of the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special passenger joining us today. He gestured to Simone. This is Simone Cartwright, founder and CEO of Skybridge Airlines. The air changed. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Bryn looked like she might faint. Simone still said nothing. Rodriguez cleared his throat. Miss Cartwright, please, your seat. Simone walked past Bryn without a word, sat down in two-way, set her bag in the overhead bin, fastened her seatbelt, and as the cabin filled with whispers and the flight attendants scrambled to recover, Simone pulled out her tablet, opened her notes, and began typing. The flight was 47 minutes. Simone spent 30 of them working. The cabin had gone silent after Captain Rodriguez's announcement. Passengers who'd been impatient now stole glances, whispered behind hands. Bryn had disappeared into the galley the moment boarding finished. Simone didn't look up. She reviewed financial models, scanned reports from the Sacramento regional director, made notes on the acquisition terms. But she was aware of every furtive look, every stiff movement from the crew. The way Bryn's colleague, the younger one, kept adjusting the beverage cart like she'd forgotten how her hands worked. 10 minutes into the flight, another flight attendant approached. Older, composed. Miss Cartwright. She set down a glass of sparkling water Simone hadn't requested. Is there anything I can get you? Anything at all? Simone looked up. No, thank you. The woman hesitated. I apologize for any discomfort during boarding. Are you the senior attendant on this flight? Yes, ma'am. Denise Carver. Where's Bryn? A pause. In the galley. Preparing service. Send her here. Denise's composure cracked. Just slightly. I'm not sure that's... Now, please. Denise nodded. Left. 2 minutes later, Bryn appeared. She looked smaller, younger. Her smile was gone entirely. Miss Cartwright. Simone closed her tablet. Sit. I'm on duty, sit. Bryn sat in the empty seat beside her. Hands folded. Eyes down. Look at me, Simone said. Bryn did. Barely. Tell me what you were thinking, Simone said quietly, when you stopped me during boarding. Bryn's throat moved. I thought there was a mistake. Why? The system sometimes. Why did you think there was a mistake? Silence. Simone leaned forward. Not aggressive. Just present. I fly this airline 3 times a month, she said. I've flown first class, business economy. I've checked bags and carried on. I've connected through Dallas, Atlanta, Denver. Do you know how many times I've been stopped? Bryn said nothing. 12. In 18 months. Gate agents. Flight attendants. Once, a passenger reported me to crew because she was concerned I'd taken her seat. Bryn's hands trembled. I built this company, Simone continued, voice level, because I was tired of being invisible. Or worse, visible in all the wrong ways. I wanted an airline where people like me didn't have to prove we belonged. She paused. And yet here we are. I'm sorry, Bryn whispered. What are you sorry for? Bryn's voice broke. I made an assumption. I was wrong. You were racist. The word hung there. Heavy. Bryn's eyes filled. I didn't mean. Intent doesn't erase harm. A tear slipped down Bryn's cheek. She wiped it quickly. Simone sat back. I'm not going to fire you, she said. Bryn's head snapped up. But you're going to fix this. You and every crew member on this airline are going to go through revised training. Implicit bias. De-escalation. How to treat passengers with dignity, even when you're having a bad day. Bryn nodded rapidly. Yes, absolutely. I'll be reviewing every complaint filed in the last 2 years. Every incident where a passenger was questioned, removed, or treated differently. And we're going to address every single one. Understood. Simone's gaze softened. Just slightly. I don't think you're a bad person, Bryn. I think you've been trained by an industry that sees people like me as exceptions, as threats, as mistakes waiting to happen. She leaned in again. That ends today. Bryn nodded, wiped her face. You can go, Simone said. Bryn stood, hesitated. Miss Cartwright, thank you. Don't thank me. Just do better. Bryn left. Simone returned to her tablet, but she didn't open it. When they landed in Sacramento, Simone was the last to deplane. She waited until the cabin emptied, until the crew finished their post-flight tasks. Captain Rodriguez appeared in the aisle. Miss Cartwright. A word. She stood, followed him to the galley. He closed the curtain, kept his voice low. I've flown for Skybridge since year 2. He said, I've watched you build this company into something I'm proud to be part of. Simone waited. What happened today is unacceptable. I should have noticed sooner. I should have stepped in before. You did step in. Not soon enough. She studied him, saw genuine remorse. Captain Rodriguez, I don't blame you. You weren't at the door. But I need you to understand. This isn't isolated. It's systemic. I know. Do you? He met her eyes. My daughter is black. My wife is black. I know. Simone softened. Then you understand why this matters. I do. And I'll support whatever changes you implement. Training. Policy. All of it. She nodded. Thank you. He extended his hand. She shook it. For what it's worth, he said, I'm glad you're taking us public. This company deserves to soar. Simone almost smiled. Let's hope Wall Street agrees. The Sacramento office was downtown. Glass and steel. Regional hub for West Coast operations. The director, Marcus Chun, 39, Stanford MBA, met her in the lobby. Miss Cartwright. Wasn't expecting you until this afternoon. Early flight. His eyes flickered. He'd heard. Of course he had. They rode the elevator in silence. His office overlooked the rail yards. Clean. Organized. A wall of commendations and operational stats. Simone sat. Tell me about the delays. For the next 2 hours, Marcus walked her through everything. Maintenance schedules ignored by a contracted vendor. A regional manager skimming budget allocations. Staff complaints buried by HR. I flagged it because it felt deliberate, Marcus said. Like someone wanted planes grounded. Why? To tank West Coast performance. Make the region look unprofitable before the IPO. Simone's jaw tightened. Who benefits? Anyone shorting our stock. Or anyone wanting to acquire us cheap. She thought of the competitors who'd tried to buy Skybridge over the years. The investors who'd said she was overvalued. The ones who'd underestimated her from the beginning. Give me every document, she said. Every email. I want names. Marcus nodded. Already compiled. He handed her a folder. She opened it. And there, buried in an email chain, was a name she recognized. Garrett Wells, former board member. She forced him out 2 years ago for ethics violations. He'd sworn he'd make her regret it. Simone closed the folder. We're moving the IPO up, she said. Marcus blinked. What? I'm not giving him time to sabotage this. We go public Wednesday. 2 days early. Can we make it happen? He stared, then nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. Simone stood. Outside, Sacramento gleamed in the afternoon sun. She pulled out her phone, called her CFO. Elaine. Change of plans. The IPO launched at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Simone watched from her office in Tribeca, surrounded by her executive team, her lawyer, and the CFO who'd helped build the financial foundation that made this moment possible. The opening bell rang. Skybridge Airlines went public at $42 per share. Within 90 seconds, it hit 50. By 10 a.m., it was at 63. The room erupted. Champagne appeared. Someone turned on CNBC, where analysts scrambled to explain the surge. Unprecedented demand for a mid-sized carrier. Cartwright's leadership has been transformational, proving that underserved markets are actually undervalued opportunities. Simone stood at the window, phone buzzing with congratulations she hadn't read yet, and felt nothing but quiet focus. This wasn't the finish line. It was the beginning of something bigger. By noon, Skybridge had stabilized at $68 per share. Simone's 68% stake was now worth $4.6 billion. Her lawyer pulled her aside. Garrett Wells tried to file an injunction this morning. Emergency motion claiming financial irregularities. And judge tossed it. Called it frivolous. Wells is being investigated for market manipulation. Simone nodded. Good. She turned to Elaine, her CFO. The Sacramento vendor. The one skimming funds. Terminated. We've recovered 80% of the misallocated budget. The rest is in litigation. And the regional manager? Gone. We've promoted Marcus Chen to VP of West Coast Operations. Simone smiled. Small. Genuine. Perfect. That afternoon, she recorded a video message for all Skybridge employees. She sat in her office, no script, just the camera on her laptop and the city behind her. Today, we made history, she began. But this IPO isn't just about valuation. It's about proving that a company built on respect, integrity, and service can compete with anyone. She paused. Some of you heard about what happened on Flight 1247 yesterday. A crew member stopped me during boarding because she assumed I didn't belong in first class. The screen seemed to hold its breath. I'm not sharing this to embarrass anyone. I'm sharing it because it's a reminder that bias exists everywhere, even in companies we build with the best intentions. Her voice steadied. Effective immediately, every Skybridge employee will complete revised training on equity, dignity, and service. We will review every passenger complaint. We will hold ourselves accountable. She leaned forward. Because we're not just an airline. We're a promise. A promise that every passenger, no matter their race, background, or income, will be treated with respect. She let that sit. Thank you for being part of this journey. Let's keep building something worth believing in. The video went out at 3 p.m. By 5 p.m., it had been viewed by every employee. By 6 p.m., it was trending on LinkedIn. By 8 p.m., it was on the evening news. 2 weeks later, Simone flew to Sacramento again. Same flight, same route. But this time, when she boarded, the crew recognized her immediately. Not because she was CEO, because she'd made them better. Denise, the senior attendant, greeted her warmly. Miss Cartwright, welcome aboard. Bryn was there too. Quieter, more careful, but present. She met Simone's eyes. Good to see you again, Miss Cartwright. Simone nodded. You too, Bryn. They didn't hug, didn't pretend the past hadn't happened. But something had shifted. Simone took her seat. 2A. As the plane filled, she noticed something. The crew greeted every passenger by name, helped with bags without being asked, smiled, not the practiced kind, but real warmth. Captain Rodriguez came on the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Skybridge Flight 1247. We're honored to have you with us today. No mention of Simone. No special announcement. Just service. The way it should be. When they landed, Simone deplaned with everyone else. Marcus Chen met her at baggage claim. Operations are up 12% since the restructuring, he said, walking her to the car. Customer satisfaction scores hit an all-time high. And we just signed 2 new routes. Good. There's something else. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. From a passenger. A black woman who'd flown Skybridge last week. Dear Miss Cartwright, I've been flying for 20 years. I've been stopped, questioned, and humiliated more times than I can count. Yesterday, I boarded your airline in first class. Not one person questioned me. The crew treated me like I mattered. I cried in my seat. My daughter asked why I was sad. I told her I wasn't sad. I was relieved. Thank you for building something that sees us. Angela Morris. Simone read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it in her back. Make sure she gets a response, she told Marcus. Personal. From me. Already drafted. She smiled. You're good at this. I learned from the best. That night, Simone returned to her Tribeca penthouse. The city stretched out below her, 10 million lights against the dark. She poured herself a glass of wine. Sat by the window. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Saw you on the news again. So proud, baby. Your father would be too. Simone's chest tightened. Her father had died when she was 19. Heart attack. No warning. He'd been a Pullman porter. Spent 30 years serving passengers on trains, invisible to most of them. She'd built Skybridge for him. For every black worker who'd been overlooked. Every passenger who'd been dismissed. She typed back, love you, mama. Then set the phone down. Outside, a plane passed overhead. Lights blinking. Heading somewhere. Simone watched it until it disappeared. And then she stood. Tomorrow, there would be more work. More fights. More moments where she'd have to prove herself all over again. But tonight, she'd done something that mattered. She'd built a company that saw people. All people. And as she turned off the lights and headed to bed, Simone Cartwright, founder, CEO, billionaire, allowed herself a moment of peace. Not because the work was finished, but because it was finally, truly, hers. And no one could take that away.